Man, y'all already know. Y'all already know. The takeover. Caitlin Clark shutting it down once again at the ANNIKA. Record-breaking numbers, as we knew would happen. Caitlin Clark definitely put it down, man. She showed the star power that she has. She had the golf course. The electricity was there. It was lit.
Okay, so Caitlin Clark just shattered every expectation at a golf tournament, and the numbers are absolutely insane. But here's what nobody's talking about. While she's breaking records on the golf course, the WNBA is sitting there watching other industries cash in on their biggest star. I'm talking 99% increase in viewership. You're probably thinking that's impressive, but wait until you see what this actually means for everyone involved. Because what happened at the ANNIKA isn't just about golf. It's exposing a pattern that's been hiding in plain sight this entire time.
This was put up by Beth Ann Nichols. It says, how big is Caitlin Clark on the LPGA? Last year, according to media data tracked by Gamebridge, there were 395 television segments that mentioned Caitlin Clark and the ANNIKA. On the Pro-Am day alone, there were 2,693 posts on X mentioning Caitlin Clark playing in the Pro-Am that generated 241,000 engagements and 18 million impressions.
Let me break down these numbers for you, because they're genuinely wild. Last year, the ANNIKA Golf Tournament got 395 television segments total. That's for the entire event. Caitlin Clark shows up for one day, just the Pro-Am day, and there were 2,693 posts on X alone. We're talking about 41,000 engagements and 18 million impressions in a single day. The tournament's Instagram account exploded with a 91% increase in views year over year. Their website traffic jumped 11%. But here's the kicker. This isn't even about golf anymore. What you're witnessing is the Caitlin Clark effect spreading beyond basketball. And it's revealing something the WNBA desperately doesn't want you to notice. Every industry that touches Caitlin Clark turns to gold, except the one that actually employs her seems confused about why this keeps happening.
Anytime, we're not shocked anytime that Caitlin Clark provides record-breaking numbers in viewership, as we've seen her do over and over in the WNBA. The WNBA seems to be the only league to not appreciate it, though. They seem to be the only league that want to make it about people, others, you know, and that's just not the players that like Angel Reese who scream "Me Too" when they can't even get ratings without Caitlin Clark. The WNBA, they seem to want to push people like Paige Beckers, who's a great player, but she had the third lowest attendance in the league. She can't put butts in seats. They'd rather try to make it about these people than be honest and say what it truly is, which is it's the Caitlin Clark effect. It's the Caitlin Clark show, the golden goose.
Did you catch that frustration? The WNBA seems to be the only league to not appreciate it, though. That's not just commentary, that's pattern recognition. And once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. So here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. The LPGA immediately recognized what they had when Caitlin Clark agreed to play in their Pro-Am. They didn't hesitate. They didn't try to share credit with other golfers. They promoted the event around her star power and watched their metrics explode. Meanwhile, the WNBA spent an entire season trying to convince everyone that multiple players were equally responsible for their record-breaking viewership numbers. Let me tell you something. When you look at the actual data, it tells a completely different story. Games Caitlin Clark played in averaged significantly higher viewership than games she didn't play in. But the league kept pushing narratives about rising tide lifts all boats, and multiple storylines. The LPGA just said Caitlin Clark is playing golf and watch the money pour in. That's the difference between capitalizing on a phenomenon and being embarrassed by it.
Absolutely disgusting. And here it says LPGA will be smart to continue to grow relationship in the same way. YouTube Golf is building one with Steph Curry. She can absolutely move the needle. You see that? You see that? LPGA will be smart to continue to grow the relationship the same way YouTube Golf is building one with Steph Curry. She can absolutely move the needle. I agree. I agree, man. No one moves the...
They'd rather try to convince themselves that it is about other people. which is absolutely disgusting. That right there is the breaking point. Because what we're really talking about isn't just marketing strategy. It's about an entire league's identity crisis. Think about what's happening psychologically here. The WNBA spent decades building a narrative about collective achievement, team success, and equal recognition. Then Caitlin Clark shows up and shatters that entire framework by being undeniably individually transcendent. The league is caught between two impossible choices: admit that one player is carrying the entire sport's visibility, or maintain the collective narrative while watching other industries profit from their star. And get this, while the WNBA was navigating this identity crisis, the LPGA was studying exactly what works. You know what they're doing right now? They're looking at how YouTube Golf built a relationship with Steph Curry, and thinking we need to lock down Caitlin Clark before someone else does. They understand something fundamental about modern sports marketing. Authenticity beats forced narratives every single time.
Needle like Caitlin Clark moves the needle. Oh, that's fire. That's fire. That's fire. I think this is awesome for women's golf and the LPGA. Can you imagine the crowds if she played on the LPGA full time? Hey, she just might at this point. Hey, it might not be no damn WNBA. We're hoping it is, but it might not even be no WNBA. So she might be golfing full time. Who knows? Who knows? It says just gotta hope LPGA.
Listen closely to that comparison. The same way YouTube Golf is building one with Steph Curry. That's not random. That's strategic thinking about long-term brand partnerships. Here's what most people don't realize about these cross-sport celebrity appearances. When Steph Curry plays in golf tournaments, it's not just a fun day out. It's a carefully cultivated relationship that benefits both parties. YouTube Golf gets Steph's massive following and mainstream appeal. Steph gets to humanize his brand and show different dimensions of his personality. Both sides win because both sides acknowledge what's actually happening. The LPGA is already thinking 5 steps ahead. They're imagining a future where Caitlin Clark becomes a regular fixture in women's golf, bringing her fan base with her, creating appointment viewing for tournaments that previously struggled for attention. They're thinking about sponsorship opportunities, merchandise deals, broadcast negotiations, all elevated by association with someone who generates 18 million impressions in a single day. Meanwhile, the WNBA is still debating whether it's appropriate to center marketing around their biggest star. That's not strategy, that's paralysis.
Leadership learns from the mistakes the WNBA has made as far as making every new eyeball go through a woke struggle session. Hopefully the new people can just show up and enjoy the golf and not get preached at. Wow. 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 That's crazy. She's better and bigger than they say. They really take advantage.
Just gotta hope LPGA leadership learns from the mistakes the WNBA has made. Did you catch the assumption in that statement? It's not if the WNBA made mistakes. It's learning from the mistakes they definitely made. And here's where this gets really interesting. The comment mentions making every new eyeball go through a woke struggle session. Now, whether you agree with that characterization or not, there's a legitimate business question buried in there. When new fans show up because of one player, how do you welcome them? The WNBA's approach seemed to be, if you're here for Caitlin Clark, you better also appreciate everyone else equally. The LPGA's approach appears to be, you're here for Caitlin Clark. Awesome. Welcome to women's golf. Stick around and you might discover you love the whole sport. One approach treats new fans like they need to be educated. The other treats them like they're already making the right choice by showing up. The psychological difference is massive. When someone feels lectured, they leave. When someone feels welcomed, they stay and explore. The LPGA understands this. They're not going to interrogate Caitlin Clark fans about whether they watched women's golf before. They're just going to give them great content and let the sport speak for itself.
That is true. That is very, very, very true, man. Caitlin Clark did her thing. Let's take a look at this Yahoo article that's speaking about this whole situation, man. Caitlin Clark, I mean, up 591%. Up 121%. I mean, it's crazy what she's able to do. I mean, it's just spectacular.
She puts asses in the seats. She earned it. That's the bottom line. And it's exactly what makes this entire situation so fascinating. From a business perspective, let me tell you something about earning star power. It's not given, it's not manufactured, and it can't be faked. Caitlin Clark didn't become this phenomenon through marketing campaigns or league promotion. She built it through performance personality, and genuine connection with fans. That's why her impact translates across sports. The golf audience didn't show up because the LPGA told them to. They showed up because Caitlin Clark has built trust with her fan base. And when she does something, they follow. This is where the WNBA's hesitation becomes even more baffling. They have an athlete who has organically built the kind of following that leagues spend hundreds of millions trying to create artificially. And instead of amplifying it, celebrating it, and building their entire marketing strategy around it, they seemed almost uncomfortable with how big she became. It's like watching someone win the lottery and then being too embarrassed to cash the ticket. The LPGA doesn't have that baggage. They can approach Caitlin Clark with fresh eyes and simple math. She generates 59 to 21% increases in viewership. So let's create as many opportunities as possible for her to be involved with our sport. It's not complicated. It's just business.
Accurate. It says, Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark knows teammates are important. That's an essential skill in basketball where you need to put your faith and trust in the 4 other players on the court. That's less important in a relatively solo game like golf, but Clark still found a way to get her teammates involved in the festivities. When Clark showed up to take part in the ANNIKA Pro-Am on Wednesday, she brought some familiar faces. Fever guards Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham arrived at the event looking to do more than just provide support for their teammate. They showed up to caddy for her.
Check out what's happening in these clips. Caitlin's teammates Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham showed up caddy for her. This is brilliant for multiple reasons, and I'll tell you exactly why this matters more than it seems. First, it shows Caitlin Clark understands team building extends beyond the basketball court. She's bringing her teammates into her spotlight, giving them exposure at a high-profile golf event. That's leadership. But second, and this is what the WNBA should be watching closely, it creates content gold. You've got recognizable WNBA players in a different environment, showing personality, having fun, being accessible. This is exactly the kind of crossover content that builds fan base. The LPGA is getting all of this value for free. They're not just getting Caitlin Clark, they're getting her entire ecosystem, her teammates, her fans, her media attention, her social media reach. It's a package deal, and they're smart enough to embrace all of it rather than trying to control or minimize parts of it. And here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Caitlin Clark is showing the WNBA what they could have been doing all season. These moments, teammates supporting each other in different contexts, players showing personality outside of games, creating shareable content that feels authentic. This is how you build a league's brand. The LPGA is getting a masterclass in modern sports marketing, and they didn't even have pay for it.
Pay.
Oh boy. I'll try not to, thank you.
Don't break my driver now.
Yep.
Important.
I must say, that wasn't bad, Lexi. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
Guys, this is bad.
I haven't hit a golf club in months.
You got me. Need a blow.
I would back up and I'm not kidding. I killed a squirrel the last time I did this. Oh my god, this is...
Listen to that encouragement. That wasn't bad, Lexi. You're watching genuine moments of support and camaraderie. And this is exactly the kind of content that makes fans feel connected to athletes. Here's what the LPGA understands that the WNBA struggled with. People don't just want to talk athletic performance. They want to feel like they know the athlete. These casual, unscripted moments where Caitlin Clark is just being herself, where her teammates are joking around and having fun, where everyone seems relaxed and accessible. This is what builds lasting fan relationships. The WNBA had opportunities all season to create this kind of content. Behind-the-scenes access, player interactions, genuine personality moments. Sometimes they did, but often it felt curated or controlled. The LPGA just put cameras on Caitlin Clark playing golf with her friends and let it happen naturally. The result? Millions of impressions, hundreds of thousands of engagements, and a 5,991% increase in viewership. But here's what's really wild. This was just the Pro-Am day. This wasn't even the main tournament. Caitlin Clark showed up for what's essentially a celebrity exhibition round, and she generated numbers that most professional tournaments would celebrate as their main event totals. That's not just star power. That's a fundamental shift in how sports media works. The event itself almost becomes secondary to who's participating in it.
That wasn't a bad swing. That actually, you know what? It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, Sophie. I'm not gonna kill you for that. It definitely was not bad. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. You know what I mean?
It wasn't bad. Could have been a lot worse. Even when Caitlin Clark doesn't perform perfectly, people are invested in watching her try. That's the definition of star power. You know what's fascinating about this? Caitlin Clark tied for 36th place in the Pro-Am. She didn't win. She didn't even place particularly high. And yet the entire event became about her participation. The LPGA's social media exploded. Their website traffic doubled. Television segments mentioned her thousands of times. None of that depended on her winning. It depended on her being there. This is what the WNBA needs to understand about maximizing Caitlin Clark's value. Yes, winning matters. Yes, performance matters. But her ability to generate attention, create moments and draw eyeballs transcends the final score. The LPGA figured this out immediately. They're not concerned that Caitlin Clark isn't a professional golfer. They're thrilled that she's willing to be associated with their sport at all. And get this, the LPGA is already thinking about next steps. You think they're going to let this be a one-time thing? They've just proven that Caitlin Clark's involvement can generate a 59% increase in viewership. They're going to create every possible opportunity for her to participate in their events, build relationships with their sponsors, and become a regular presence in women's golf. They're turning a single Pro-Am appearance into a long-term marketing strategy.
That's lit, man. Caitlin Clark doing it again, man.
Watch this putt. The crowd's reaction tells you everything. They're not golf purists analyzing her technique. They're Caitlin Clark fans celebrating her success in any arena. This is the moment where everything we've been talking about crystallizes into one clear truth. Caitlin Clark has built a fan base that follows her, not just her sport. That's incredibly rare in athletics. Most basketball players have basketball fans. Most golfers have golf fans. Caitlin Clark has Caitlin Clark fans who will watch her do anything. The business implications of this are staggering. Brands that partner with Caitlin Clark aren't just getting access to WNBA viewers or basketball fans. They're getting access to a dedicated following that crosses demographic boundaries, sport preferences, and traditional marketing categories. The LPGA recognized this immediately. They understood that bringing Caitlin Clark to their event wasn't about borrowing a basketball player. It was about tapping into a cultural phenomenon. And here's where the WNBA's approach becomes even more puzzling. They have exclusive access to this phenomenon for an entire basketball season, and they seemed almost reluctant to fully embrace it. They had the golden ticket and treated it like it might be counterfeit. Meanwhile, the LPGA got a one-day Pro-Am appearance and treated it like they'd won the lottery, because they basically had. The contrast in organizational response reveals everything about why some leagues grow and others stagnate. The LPGA saw opportunity and seized it aggressively. The WNBA saw disruption and managed it cautiously. One approach leads to 59% increases. The other leads to missed opportunities and frustrated fans wondering why the league isn't capitalizing on its biggest asset. So here's what this all means, and why it matters way beyond one golf tournament. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just about viewership numbers or social media engagement. It's exposing fundamental differences in how sports leagues approach star power, and the LPGA's response to Caitlin Clark shows you what's possible when an organization isn't conflicted about celebrating individual excellence. They didn't worry about whether promoting Caitlin Clark would offend other golfers. They didn't try to create false equivalencies about multiple storylines. They just said the biggest star in women's sports is playing in our tournament, and watched the metrics explode. That's confidence. That's clarity. That's how you capitalize on opportunity. The WNBA's response throughout the season showed the opposite. An organization wrestling with whether it's okay to have a transcendent star, whether promoting one player diminishes others, whether new fans need to be educated about league history before they're welcome. All of that internal conflict